Alright, you fucking losers. So I'm gonna do a video on how to get your et6 to coast longer. Now there's a few really easy things you can do, ones that require no regression work or anything. Those being, snug these two little bolts up, make sure they're tight, just snug, so there's a little less slack. Make sure, frick, focus. Maybe my lens is dirty, one sec. Okay, so that didn't help much. It's probably the carpeting. It's taking a lot of attention from the camera. Well, want to get that little screw in there, make sure it's adjusted. Should have just a little bit of slack. Now, those are the really easy things you can do, other than just snug this screw up a little so it's got less side-to-side slack, so it doesn't move like this as much. Now, the last thing you can do that'll really help you out a lot, it's adjust this. Now, the reason why your engine isn't missing very much isn't completely the governor's fault. What it can end up being is the timing on this lobe. So you want to time it so that intake happens, so that the exhaust valve closes and intake starts happening almost immediately as it starts turning this way. That way you'll get a cylinder more full of fuel and air, and it will combust more efficiently, and it'll fire more powerfully, and it'll have longer to coast down before it needs to hit again. Now, I've tried numerous times to get that double intake stroke to stop completely, to no avail, but one thing you gotta remember on these engines is to keep them well oiled up. Even while you're testing, keep it consistently oiled so you've got no room for friction to potentially change anything. There's one thing I've been consistently lubricating that has really helped me out. It is this spline, these two spline gears right here. There's a hole right there for a reason, so you can drop a little bit of oil in. You can press your oiler right up against that one. It should shoot straight onto the shaft. Remember, these gears, anything that wiggles, moves, or latches, like this little latch block right here, oil it, and you will get a good running engine. So not only will, there's multiple things you've got to do to slow it down. One of them is snug up this screw, but make sure that it's not so tight that this part can't move. Another thing you can do, like I mentioned in my previous video, is change the spring that's in here. How you do that? Don't mess with these fuckers. Don't take out these little C-clips or anything. I really apologize for the bad video quality, holy hell. But the little two screws, I'll zoom in, so hopefully it'll focus better. Oh, there we go, that's crispy. Right here, these two screws, just got to take them out, and this whole thing will unwind. Then there will be a little top cap. It'll be a little bit painful on your fingers to unscrew, but you unscrew that, take the spring off, cut one winding off of it. If you're working with the original one, you take one winding off of it, and it will slow down significantly. It'll still have a little bit of coasting problems because the original spring just isn't designed very well. It's not the correct one for the application that this engine's being used for. But you can find a good spring in, like I mentioned previously, one of those paper staplers. One of those, it should have a really long spring that wraps around almost everything in there. If you take that and just make it from a tension spring into a compression spring by just stretching it very slowly and just a little bit, you want a lot of windings left on it. You don't want it to be like 3 windings in here. You want it to be like 15. You want it to have a lot of windings, because if you overstretch it, the metal spring steel work hardens. So if you give it that work by stretching it too far, it will harden up and it'll be worse than the original spring. You just stretch it out a little bit. And then once you do that, test this, make sure it doesn't take too much force to move these flyweights out. and you'll be good. And it'll start running kind of like mine. But something you probably don't have is a second flywheel off of a blue engine that you got a few years ago that never ran. But if you do, put that on this one. You can scoot this flywheel in a little bit and then put this flywheel extra one on. And it runs beautifully.